Subsequently, during the persecution, please note what I'm about to say next, very important to what I'm going to say today. Apostle Peter went to Rome. He left Jerusalem and went to Rome. So he was the pastor at Rome. Just like I am the pastor of Ogbomoso Church, Peter was the pastor at Rome. Do you understand that? Okay. Of course, in those days, there were no denominations. It was just church at Rome, church at Corinth, church at Galatia, and all of that. Eventually, there was a man, Constantine. He was not really a Christian, but in one of his journeys, he was going to war, and he had a vision of a cross. And then, subsequent wars, he employed the cross. He would make an image of it and carry it to war. And every time he went to fight with that cross image, he won battles. Or there was a particular battle that he actually went for. And he won that battle with that cross image. And because of that, Constantine felt like, wow, but I said this cross thing, they work. And he fell in love with Christianity, as it were. Eventually, he rose in political influence and became the emperor of the Roman government, which meant that he was almost in control of that civilization. So he stopped Christian persecution. He himself claimed to be a Christian. He began to encourage churches, encourage pastors, encourage the Christian faith. That was how Christianity seemingly had a break from the issue of persecution. Do we understand that? Subsequently, Constantine now began to mix Christianity with government, began to combine Christianity with politics. So for instance, he would ask from the church, can you give us somebody that can be a leader in this particular province? The church was now supplying political leaders for the Roman government. And while that was positive in the sense that the church had influence, it had a negative effect because the church was now more political than spiritual. But everybody was enjoying it. At least nobody was dying for being a Christian. So it was all good and rosy for the church. The church was seemingly growing and expanding. There were a few issues here. Constantine was a man of unity. He was an apostle of unity. He did not want division. He did not want fight. So whenever there was a quarrel in the church, he would gather a meeting and say, no, let's settle. And so they began to propose a few things so that the body of Christ will have one belief, one truth, one doctrine. He was a believer of unity in the sense of one people under one God. That was his major motto, as it were. And so there were a few heretical issues. Some people did not believe this one, some people believe that. Constantine was very useful in reconciling everybody, and it's one of the reasons he's very notable in the early church. But of course he died, just like every human being would die. And then those who were after him did not really have a strong grip on church leadership, and many things began to happen. Remember, the church was already becoming more political than spiritual. A lot of things were happening. And then subsequently, we now began to have the issues of who exactly is the ultimate leader of the church. It used to be Constantine, but now Constantine is dead. Who exactly is the ultimate leader of the church? And this is where what we're about to say comes in, which is the Pope, the office of the papacy, or the office of the Pope. Because Jesus said something in Matthew 16, I think in Matthew 16 he says, on this rock, he was saying it when he faced Peter. On this rock I will build my church. How many of you remember that statement? And the gates of hell will not prevail. People automatically assume that Jesus handed over the church to Peter. Now, remember that during the persecution, Peter went to Rome. Is that not so? So he was Bishop of Rome. Everybody now assumes that any Bishop of Rome is automatically the leader of the Christian faith. So Peter died, but the next Bishop of Rome now seemingly took the place of, I'm the Pope, I'm the father of the church. The word Pope actually is from the word Papa, or father. And there were a few controversies, but eventually it was adopted. Anybody who is the Bishop of Rome is the father of the church. Now, that office of the Pope began to grow in influence for a few reasons. The church was very rich. Rich not necessarily in silver and gold, but the major source of wealth at that time were land. If you have land, you are rich. I spoke about a feudal system. The idea of a feudal system is that somebody will have land, he will employ people. There were no middlemen in those days. You had the rich and the very poor. The very poor did not have business, they just wanted to eat. So they will be employed to farm the land. The owners of the land own them. They have contracts. Okay, if I work for you for 2 months, you will give me food. Those one will say yes. You will give me protection. Those one will say yes. So they were just farm slaves, as it were. The church had several lands because of Constantine's influence, the political church was able to gain lots of lands. Do you understand that?